Hey guys, Cam for 15 back at it with another video for you guys. Back with another episode review of Flagrant Flower Blooms with Dignity as we are headed into the season finale because I do think this show will probably be get greenlit for a season 2 because of how good it is, and how heartwarming it is. And this was another great episode. Got a good character moment with Hoshina, or with Subaru. And then, geez, I look, man, I did not expect a confession to come in the second to last episode. I thought maybe a confession would happen in the final episode. And honestly, I was actually thinking it was going to come from Karako, not Rintaro. But okay, we ended off the episode on a cliffhanger. Basically, you know, Rintaro basically tells Karako that he likes her. And the episode ended off, with him giving a Kara a call, but I'm just like, yo, this is crazy. So let's get to it, right? Let's get to it. So they're obviously enjoying their summer vacation because it's summertime. So um I guess you can say, okay, look, this could have been like the beach fan service episode where you see obviously Karako and Rintaro, Karako and Subaru in bathing suits. But no, they basically went out to the beach. Yes, they did. But it was like kind of fireworks, like do a fireworks friend type of thing. So you just see it where they get off this station, and they're going to go to the beach for fireworks. Now Rentaro, he's kind of like, well, I'm happy to do this and everything, and then he's like, oh yeah, that's right, I'm with her too. So they do pass by some stores to get like some like fireworks and then some food, or like little, like, I wouldn't say food, but like snacks. Like, they come by like these sweet shops. Now Rentaro does have a conversation with one of his friends. I think it's Natsu Sawa. And because he basically asked him like, hey, aren't you supposed to be helping out, with your basically your cake shop, right? Your sweet shop. And Rentro's like, oh, well, actually, that's only when I actually have free time and I want to do that, right? And he confirms him like, he's only doing that on his own volition. It's not like he's doing that as like a full-time job, right? But he does say, like he does, by doing this, he's actually been more interested in making sweets and making like quick cakes and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. Which again, it lines up with my whole thing of, I think by the end of the show, he'll definitely take over as eventually, once his parents are obviously a lot older. I definitely could see him. Well, one now either taking over his family cake shop restaurant with Karako by the end of the story, which would just be a happy ending, especially because that's where they essentially first met each other, right? Or he ends up making his own cake shop, and he does that again still with Karako, right? But regardless, it's looking like the end game is he's definitely gonna be working in some sort of sweet cake type of shop right then and there, and Karako's gonna be right there with him. It would be interesting in a season 2 episode that maybe she goes there and maybe it's Rentaro's mom that's like, hey Karako, would you like to see how to make some cakes and stuff like that? Now I know Rentaro's like, mom, you can't do that, and but essentially, but I could see it to where Rent or Karako would do that because actually I'll wait till the end of the episode or get to the end of the review, right? So you get that. And it was funny because Natsusawa does say like, "Hey, I would honestly like to continue. I would like to try your made cakes as well." So that was pretty cool. And it shows a lot. So that's kind of the thing. Anyways, they passed by this donut shop and they were wondering like, "Hey, do anybody want donuts?" No, not really. But Karako's like, "Hey, Subaru loves donuts," and they asked her like, "Hey, you want some donuts?" And she's oddly like, I guess you can say distant from them. And she's like, "Well, no, I'm good, thank you," right? But she does look at the donuts. she does look like, okay, she would have loved to buy that, but she was basically distant from them for the entire time, right? So they get to the beach area and they basically go have some fun and play. They go, raise up their pants, and Karako's, she's wearing like a dress, so she raises up her dress a bit so she doesn't get her dress, wet or anything. And they start messing around and having fun and everything while Subaru's just watching, on and just watching them all have fun, right? Um which it then leads into this whole thing, as the day's starting to go by, right? Um, she has a conversation with Karako and essentially brings it up to the boys. Now, she tells the boys, and she calls them by their names individually, and she basically says like, "Look, I apologize for being distant from you guys. It's just I had a really traumatic experience when I was younger around men, and I get weirded out and I feel, uncomfortable around men." And it makes sense because obviously we saw from a flashback that those boys teased her because of her hair color. And because of it, it actually traumatized her, if anything. And that's why she has put up like this guard, and she explains it to them like, that's why I put up this front where it comes to men. I don't really try to interact with them. And she ends up saying like, look, I don't mean anything like this. And she specifically talks to Rintaro, right? Especially about this point, because she's like, look, I want to apologize, for the way when we talked in the park, how I said, maybe we could be friends one day down the road. But she basically tells them like, hey, I don't want to be kind of like weird between us, and it creates the dynamic because it looks like you guys are having fun, and I want to have that same fun as you guys are having. So it, is it okay, if we can become friends, and everything. And the boys are just like, now one, Natsusawa, he kind of, it doesn't take it till one of the red haired friend in their group is like, hey man, you think you want to kind of rephrase that? But he kind of said it in a weird way of like, why are you saying like this type of way, right? What are you really trying to say, right? And dude is like, look, sorry, please rephrase that, right? And he does say like, well, one, sorry for that comment, but I have already seen you, as somebody that I can call a friend. And all the other boys, including Rintaro himself, especially Rintaro, is like, I know you said what you said, but to be honest, I actually kind of viewed you as a friend regardless, right? And it was a cool moment for Subaru because it's like, again, I mentioned she has this traumatic experience with these guys who, when her and Karako were kids, these boys bullied her, and it made her put up this front against men, right? And then obviously with the fact of the teachings of the Kikyo school, the fact that the teachers basically institute like, hey, you are not to. One, also too, she goes to an all-girls school, no boys, so she can't break that. She can't break that fear or that, that unnaturalness to be around boys, right? And on top of it, with the Kikyo teacher saying like, do not, interact with that school that has all boys and everything, that only put it up right then and there. And you saw how defensive she was when we met her early on in the season. So her basically breaking it down to everybody and just saying like, hey, is it okay if we can be friends? Because I want to have the same fun as you guys are having. It was great, revelation. But I think it was even better on all the guys, to say like, bro, what? Like, we seen you as our friend from the jump once we met you, which is really freaking cool for them. Because it's honestly also opens Subaru's eyes, saying like, maybe the Kikyo teachers were wrong. Like, maybe these boys aren't as bad as they're portrayed. Yeah, they may go to a school that may be lesser than us, but at the end of the day, they're all nice people. So, it's now breaking those barriers down of her now realizing like, you know what? Actually, they're not bad, and maybe cheatery students aren't all bad. yeah, there's obviously going to be some bad apples and some bad dudes out there, but these are genuinely good guys. Like they actually care and they actually want us to have fun. So that was a great moment. Parko, she's like, "Hey, let's go have some fun, right?" She pushes her too hard, and I'm just like, "Wait, if you want them," I'm like, "Let her roll up her freaking pants legs and maybe take off her sandals or whatever." Because I'm like, she's getting them soaked wet. And Karako accidentally pushes her a little bit to her. She falls down. She starts laughing and everything. So that's the thing, right? But anyways, they start some of the fireworks, right? But it's kind of like quick hitter type of stuff. And they're like, "Is that it?" And they're like, "Yeah." And they kind of come up with this whole thing like, "Hey, we need to go get some more fireworks." And they also wanted to go get some drinks as well. So Subaru, and the other boys, they go do that. They ask like Rintaro and Karako like, "Hey, you want to come?" And they're like, "No, I'm just gonna stay here." Right? So basically Karako and Rintaro, they basically do the fireworks stick type of things that go off till it burns out at a point on the stick and everything. And obviously they're talking, a bit about how much fun that they're having and the fact about Subaru, a bit. And then that's kind of when Rintaro, he basically makes the mention and he's just thinking of the moments. He's like, "No, I haven't done anything," because Karako's saying like, "It's all thanks to you that you've made Subaru happy and we're having a lot of fun." But Rintaro in his head, he's thinking like, "No, that could farther be from the truth. Like, you're the one that has changed me, and you're the one that has made me come out of my shell and be more comfortable around you and my friends and change me for the better." Um, and he does say that. He does tell her like, "No, you're the single reason why I'm better as a person." And Kara goes like, "Huh?" She's like, "No, no, no, you've done that for me too." And then Rintaro just refreshes about all the memories they've had up to this point, together from the moment they've met each other. And they're talking about, one, they're talking about, how, or he's like, "I don't want this to end because I know if we go home, that's it of this moment, I'm not gonna get, another moment like this again, right?" And he's just afraid, and in his head, he's afraid like, it's just gonna be a moment, and then we're gonna go back all alone. I'm gonna be lonely again, right? And I think I now I don't know if he said this part before he said "I like you" all out loud accidentally. I'm thinking he did. Again, put it in the comment section, right? If I'm wrong about this. But I think he said that second message about being lonely and everything, and then my man, bro, just right off the bone or right off the dome, he just tells Karako, he's like, "I like you." And eventually, within a second, he's like, "Huh? Wait, what did I just say?" He turns over to Karako, bro. And Karako is looking at him, blushing a storm, bro. She's like, "Huh?" Face all red and everything. And she is absolutely shook because, again, this boy that she likes, right? This boy that she likes has come out and told her that she likes him, or she likes her. And it was the crazy way. And Rinto's like, oh, I'm sorry, and things like that. And she's like, uh, and they look at each other. They're legitimately blushing at each other the more they look at each other. And you're just like, "Oh God." I'm like, what's gonna happen next, bro? And then all of a sudden, the others show up. They're like, "Hey, what they're doing?" I was like, "What are you doing? You scared the shit out of me, right?" Um, and they're like, "Wait, what?" And then eventually they're like, "Wait, did something happen? Your guys' faces are extremely red." They're like, "No, no, it's nothing. It's nothing." So Rentaro walks away, right? And the thing is, this is the first time we've seen Karako absolutely visibly shooken up. Like, she's not understanding what to process right here. Like, This guy she has a crush on literally just came out and said that she likes him or she likes her. And she doesn't know what to feel. She doesn't know what to think, right? I bet in one mind she's obviously happy, but the other mindset is like, what the fuck? Now she's still in this mindset to the point she's even like, Hojin is like, hey, Karako, you good? And she's like, oh, sorry, and everything. She's like, and Subaru's like, hey, you good? You all right? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. So we get the end of the episode after they all split their ways, right? Rintaro, he's walking back home and he's just like, why the fuck did I just say that? I just said that right off the tongue because I was thinking some stuff and I just said that. And he feels like he maybe said that prematurely and thought instead of in a natural, not in a natural way, that would have been better suited for that confession. And he's like, I don't know how she feels, but I bet she feels weird that I said that. And he basically says, like, look, I gotta make this right, and everything. Now, one, I'm just like, no, do not make this right. Do not tell her, like, hey, forget about what I said, right? I'm like, don't do. I hope that's not the direction he's gonna go, where he's like, hey, about that thing I told you, like, forget about it, like, don't pay no mind, right? Which if I do that, I'm gonna be pissed if they do that. I rather hope he says, like, look, what I said, and I truly do mean it. But if you feel weirded out by it and you need some time to think, you know, go right ahead and think about it. But I just want to I just want it came out, so screw it. I really do like you and I appreciate everything you've done, right? In the meantime, Karako's walking home with Subaru. And again, Subaru is like, hey, Karako, you good? You've been acting a little bit weird since we left. And she's like, oh, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm good. And then she abruptly gets a call from Rintaro, and she's like, Rintaro-kun, and that's where the episode ends off on a cliffhanger. So she's going to definitely probably pick up the phone. I'm honestly shocked she has yet to tell Subaru at this point. I thought she would have told Subaru on their walk home, saying like, or maybe she tells it when we start the episode off, while Subaru's like, hey, why are you not picking up the phone? And then maybe that's when Karako says like, when you left, me and Subaru were, me and Rintaro were on the beach, messing with some of the fireworks, and he told me he liked me. Now, I personally think Subaru will be like, oh, and he's gonna be like, and I could definitely see where Subaru is saying like, well, what did you say? And Rintaro is probably gonna, or Rintaro, what's his face? Karako is probably gonna say, I didn't say anything. That's when you guys showed up out of the blue. We just, and basically, maybe we get a whole moment where maybe, because of her getting revealed, she kind of somewhat doesn't take any calls from him and doesn't talk with him because she's feeling flustered because of the confession, right? And when he tries to show up to talk with her, she walks away immediately because she doesn't know how to take her feelings. And I think by the end of next week's episode, she'll then talk to him. They'll have that one-to-one. That's when she'll confess to him saying, I really like you too. And I think my prediction is by the end of this season, I think they're going to be a couple dating. I think they're going to be technically going out, or aka seeing each other, or maybe we'll end the cliffhanger off for this season where Rintaro asks her out on an actual proper date. Now, even though technically their aquarium date was technically their first date, if you want to be technical, their official first date as a couple will be whenever Rintaro probably asks her out. Because Rintaro in this episode said he wanted to do something more with her, and he wants to continue to be around her and hang out with her more and do more things. And Karako did make the mention, because they're on summer break, they can do more things and stuff like that. Like there's festivals and shit like that they can do. So I can see it next week. She confesses back to him and saying, I really like you. They start agreeing to maybe at least seeing each other and going out, and they'll probably go on we're going to be left off a cliffhanger where they're going to go out on a date next week, or a date as a couple. But this episode was great. I was absolutely shocked that we got a confession angle with the second to last episode going on. But definitely can't wait to see how the season ends, and hopefully we get a season 2 confirmation immediately. Again, this is done by Studio Cloverworks, so we'll see. And at this point in time, I know they also did My Dress Up Darling, and we have yet to get a confirmation of a season 2 of season 3 of My Dress Up Darling at this point of this recording. But really great episode. I definitely did not see the confession coming, but hey man, I'm all for it, bro. I'm all for it. So it's definitely setting up for a great finale before we end off this show for the time being and stuff like that. But if you guys like the video, leave a like, put in the comment section your thoughts, hit that subscribe button if you want to get more. If you want to get more Fragrant Flower Blooms Dignity content or any other anime content I upload to the channel, just put that in the comment section and we'll see. But until then, guys, catch you guys in the next video, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.